Well, I'm going to be heading back to the States, home country. Haven't been there in a long time. Kind of picking up on the vibe of what's going on in that sewer. And I lived there long enough to see the country get trashed and how it got trashed. But that's a different frickin' story altogether. But I've noticed that it's voting season. It's like breeding season almost, where you have the Republican and the Democrat. There's not enough of the independent. They just seem to keep stealing the vote from these two main parties that battle it out, and they have these big talks about how they're going to straighten out the country and straighten out the legal system and get everybody off of drugs, their drugs that they want people off of, and get everybody on the drugs that they want those people on, and they're going to do all these programs to help out the poor. Of course, we've got to help out the poor and the middle class and all that, and this politician's going to help out the middle class, and they're going to stop embezzling tax money, and they're going to tell you where the tax money really goes, and all that different stuff. And it's just a big joke. It's a big scam. And the funniest thing that makes me laugh probably the hardest is they think that their vote is going to count or their vote will make a difference. That is just... And they even argue. I mean, they get into arguments just like sports about this, why this political candidate or this party is this way and all that, and they just argue back and forth, and they don't accomplish anything really, and that's basically been the story of the country. They don't. It's just a big distraction. It's brainwashing. It's a tactic that people use to socially control and brainwash people, is to blame somebody else or something else and keep blaming each other. It's just a big distraction from the truth of what's really going on in the States. That's all. That people actually think that their vote, that if they vote for this candidate, that this candidate will enact these changes like socialized medicine or tax reform or whatever stuff they're bringing up, and then they demographically, as we know, they go to each individual state and they say what that state wants to hear, and in that town they get the information. They have these spies that get the information. They don't even need spies now. They can just do it all on the internet and see what people believe. So the Christians get the Christian ideas in the Christian part of the country, like the Midwest and the South or wherever, and then the liberals get their liberal information in the liberal states, and why they should vote liberal because liberal is going to do this and that, and there's all this hocus pocus and this magic and this just total frickin' scam. Total giving people the illusion that those politicians have any control at all over anything. And then when it doesn't happen, they just blame the other party because they wouldn't cooperate on that issue or those laws or that legislation and all that stuff. Meanwhile, they completely ignore the truth, which is what politicians are best at. They talk around in circles all day and night long, and they avoid the truth of who's really controlling the country and how the country's controlled and how their vote doesn't matter. I mean, I'd love it if a politician said, if you can vote for me and I want you to vote for me, but to be honest, it's not going to do any good. Because I'm just a slave like you, and I have a master, and I have to follow my master's orders or I'll get annihilated. So that's the bottom line, really. Is no matter who you vote for, it doesn't matter. You will get the same corruption either way, because the people that are in control of the country don't even vote, because they know, they just sit back and they laugh at these people that are voting that thinks that it's actually going to make a difference about anything. It's not. It's just, it's a joke. You know, it is really beyond voting. To make an effective change in the United States, it's way, way beyond voting. And it got beyond voting hundreds of years ago. I mean, you know, it's beyond voting. Voting is not going to help anything anymore. It's beyond that. You can use your creativity, and I know what some of you are thinking right now when I say that. But you know, it's the voting is not going to change anything. It's not going to help anymore. So no matter what those politicians tell you or whatever, you know, they're not telling you the truth. If they were telling you the truth, they would say that no matter how you vote, it's not going to do any good. Because I am a slave to the same masters that all the other politicians have been slaves to for the last hundreds of years. It's just a diversion to give the illusion, it's a smokescreen, that they have any control over anything. And they don't. The United States is not in control of the United States. The United States is being controlled by people and families from different countries. It's not in control of itself. It doesn't even own itself. It doesn't even pay. When you pay your federal income tax, that a little bit of that goes to the government and a lot of that goes somewhere else. So, you know, even the whole tax thing is just a scam. You know, and the real estate is not even owned. A lot of it is not even owned by Americans. They're just they're deluded to think that they actually own their own property. And it's just a big social engineered event to keep people distracted from who's really controlling the country. And the politicians don't want to come out and talk about it because they're scared. They don't want to tell the truth that they're not in control of the country and that America is not in control of the country. In fact, America is basically just a slave state for the super rich people that control the world. All America is one big puppet. You know, it's a puppet for the rich forces that want to make money off it, that want to make more money, or powerful forces that want to make more money off it. All the U.S. is a tool. The whole country is a tool to make money for people that aren't even Americans. I mean, some of them are, but it's predominantly for different corporations and families and banks that basically own the country and control the country and everything in it for their financial gain. That's the bottom line. So the U.S. is just a basic slave factory, and so are the other countries, and it's all just a big scam, because the big players that are really controlling the world are the ones, the super powerful rich people, and they're the ones really controlling the U.S. It's not the politicians, and it never will be. I mean, what investor would ever invest in a politician unless they maybe whipped around a few laws real quick to change some things that would make them some financial gain for a few years until it got switched back, but basically, yeah, they don't really control anything. It's the people behind the scenes that control the politicians is who's really running the country. So it doesn't matter whether you vote Republican, Democrat, or the meager independent, which, I mean, all they do is, I guess, they steal votes from others. They don't seem to be able to get powerful enough because they're not the ones that are working for the people that are controlling, that are really controlling the country. And they never will be, because they don't want the independents to get into control, because then there might be a possibility that they might actually lose control of that factory, the U.S. So, yeah. And so they just use the U.S. as a puppet, slave state, to steal from the people, rob them, not give them medical care or retirement, steal them their real estate, steal everything, steal their soul or whatever, and that's basically what's controlling the country. And after they're done exploiting the U.S., which they finished exploiting the U.S. quite a while ago, they just use another country, a third world country, and then they exploit that, make a bunch of money off of that, and then they move on to another country, and a third world country, and they build that up, and they exploit that as much as they can to where they're not making enough of profits off it, and then they're done with that, and that's just the name of the game. So the vote doesn't matter, really. It's just an illusion. It's just more brainwashing. But it does help out the news organizations and the TV and the people that are bored, that like to watch people spew out a bunch of garbage stuff. Yeah. But they all have the same bosses. They're working for the same people, Republican or Democrat. Either way, it's the same deal. It doesn't matter, because they're not in control, and they never will be. So, good luck with that. I hope that your candidate wins, whoever you vote for, and watch what really happens, even if they try to do what they promise to do, because you can leave comments after this. I would love to see the comments, so feel free. Comments are always welcome.